Hey guys, Mike Short, American Guardian Solutions. Wanted to talk and give my quick take on this incident that occurred in Pennsylvania yesterday at a small non-denominational church where a guy showed up to the church and pointed a gun at the pastor, attempted to shoot him. The gun malfunctioned and luckily nobody was hurt. This tells us a lot in this incident, so that's why I wanted to give you a quick breakdown and some thoughts on it. The subject that came in that had the gun he's not a regular parishioner. It is a small church, about 50 people, so everybody knows everybody. And when he arrived, he kind of walked in and out several times. So from a pre-attack indicator's perspective, he would have stuck out quite a bit. He would have been known as an anomaly because of the odd behavior, and they didn't recognize him being a small community church. He decided that day that he was going to do what he was going to do, and actually went and sat closer to the front when the sermon was happening, was smiling at the pastor, so the pastor recognized this odd behavior as well. And then at one instance, he stood up and pointed the gun at the pastor who was directly in front of him. Luckily, a deacon jumped into action who was behind him and tackled this guy before he could get to the pastor, possibly fixing that malfunction and doing damage or death. Both of them controlled this guy on the ground for several minutes until police could arrive. So very, very intense situation, happened very quickly. So just a couple takeaways that I wanted to bring out. One is that it happened at a small church, right? So I think often I hear from folks in small churches that it's not going to happen here because I know everybody. But this is just another example of, with these types of incidents, and they are increasing in our country, they're not predictive in that way. So I always say if you have sin in the internet, then it can happen to you. So just being a small community did not prevent this from happening to them. The other was preparation. And so having a safety team, security team that is trained to be able to respond to these things is key. Everybody needs one. The reason is if they had one, then they could have picked up on those pre-attack indicators very early and contacted the person and dealt with them outside, okay, and not let him get to the point where he was wanting to do what he wanted to do. This does take planning, it does take vetting, it takes policies, procedures to be able to put something like that in place. But even a small church can do it because you just need a few like-minded people who have the capability to respond to these types of things to be able to effectively manage it. Last thing was controlling the person on the ground. So this was another case. We've had a few recently where during church the attacker approaches, not interdicted, and then there's a scrum on the ground. So that's another example of the type of training that you need for safety team folks. If you're already on a safety team, yes, we need to be training our firearm. But the reality is we also need to train soft hand skills and be able to close distance, control somebody on the ground. We always say 90 seconds. To be able to control somebody for 90 seconds until they get worn out, and police are going to arrive shortly after that. So guys, this was ended very well. It's interesting that the gun malfunctioned. Thanks be to God. I don't call anything coincidence, so I think there was definitely a purpose in that, and it was neat to see that reaction and stepping in to save people's lives. That deacon, definitely a lot of credit goes to him. So hope y'all are well, and take care. God bless.